For today's class, we'll be moving through a flow sequence, and the instructions will be minimal because sometimes it's nice to have your own mind in your own head to give yourself the cues. So just make sure you're working to this kind side of sensation or kind side of pain so that we're not pushing through anything. We can feel tugs or sensations of like nerve tensioning, but not feeling like we're stretching to get beyond where we can actually move. So it's still a continuation of building trust in the body and trust in the mind in the shapings that we might be coming into. I'm just going to recommend that you have a couple of these blocks. One that we're going to put in between the thighs right now with a belt around our thighs. And then some, when we come into some lunges, they're a nice support that way. So we can decide if we want to do that. And also, there might be some times where I will do a sun salutation and back off from going into plank. So you can decide to go into plank yourself or make a modified version of your back bend. So it could be cobra, or you can be on your elbows and it'll be sphinx. So really just work at your own pace with this, because this is going to be a practice that will be something that you can do again and again and modify it as you will, like kind of you've got more energy and you have more connectivity into the body, so you might want to move more deeply in some shapes just because you're inspired to and it feels right. And sometimes you need to back off from that and just understand that it's still all movement and it isn't hierarchical. Okay, so a belt and a couple blocks, and then we just might want a soft padding for the knees. So I have one of these pads that's a nice felt pad that I have from my functional synergy class. Or you can use a blanket for your knees or for any soft landings. Okay, so here we go. Let's just come down onto our backs. Take one block, have your belt looped already so that you can easily bring it around the thighs, but you'll need to leave enough space so that you'll be able to tighten it. So I'm putting it around my thighs, and then I'm taking my block and I'm turning it horizontal and just putting it between the more fleshy parts of my thighs and then tightening the strap around so that it's just absolutely held. They're held in the sidelines and the midlines. So just pause here and we will be focusing on breathing. The hands can be at the abdomen or they can be at your sides, and just see what that feels like, relaxing the legs into the block, relaxing them into the belt, feeling sweet, and noticing what is for a few breaths. Stay here in your own mind. Now bring one hand onto the forehead and one hand onto the upper chest, and just feel the sensation of the energy that feels like it's being emitted to the hands. So one in the forehead and one in the upper chest, and see if we can resonate the sensation in the chest to the sensation in the forehead. Come to a sort of an equilibrium or a balance between these two, even if it's just in your imagination. The pressure of the hands begins to shift and they feel balanced. Feeling the sensation of kindness from the hands to the body. If they feel balanced, you could move the hand that's at the forehead onto the low belly, so below the belly button, just a little bit. And do the same process here, feeling the balancing of energies, the balancing weight of the hands, feeling the sweetness in the body, the breath. When these feel balanced, you can take the hand that's on the upper chest and bring it up to the forehead. So now you can allow the process to happen in the belly and in the forehead. Relaxing a little bit more into the legs so that the back of the pelvis feels even wider and with a more downness, more grounded sensation. And then release the hands when you feel like you have come to that readiness, and maybe just take them out to the sides with the palms facing up. Notice the sensations of the mind, the body, and the quality of your breathing now. Slowly move the hands up so that you can release the belt. Loosen it a little bit. Release the block to the side and then move the belt off. That can go just over to the side. Take the feet now as wide as the edge of the mat and pause and feel the heaviness in the pelvis and a bit of a heaviness in the shoulders. You can still have a lightness in the mind, but we're allowing the body to feel melty, a bit sandbag-like into the ground. And then very slowly, we'll just move the knees a bit over to the right, and then just a little bit over to the left. So these are very small movements. We're going to build, so we'll just take our time moving from side to side. Maintaining an easy quality in through the back of the pelvis. A little bit of weight shifts, of course, with the distribution of weight in the back of the pelvis. But it's subtle, and the shoulders are still. Let breathing be natural. And gradually, if there is a sensation that the movement becomes more broad, just naturally of its own, you will feel one hip come up a little bit. Just allow for that while still maintaining an easy shift of weight and downness in the shoulders and elbows. And an easy kind of feeling in the ribs so they're not becoming tense as they stay connected in. Sometimes we'll ground the ribs in on purpose to the low belly, but here we're just going to allow them to be sweet, and they're going to find their own way in their downness because of the ease of movement that you're doing. So we're not pre-anticipating by gripping the muscles. We're allowing the ease to happen and the trust to develop, and the core will naturally engage and hold exactly as it needs to. So let's just trust this process in this particular class today. Checking that compensations aren't happening like a tension in the jaw, so we allow the jaw to be easy and free. And then finish on your opposite side. So for me, that's going to be bringing my legs over to the left. And then just come up. And when you come up, you might need to sort of shift by lifting and a little subtle lengthening of the lower back, and then coming down and just being in your downness. Reach over and take your belt and make it so that you're not going to be kind of knocked in the face with the strap edge or with the buckle. So holding that maybe double. Possibly this will find the range that will be a shoulder distance apart. And we're going to do the same exact thing that we just did with the legs. We're going to build the trust. So just very small movements, feeling weight in the pelvis. So heaviness down there. Expansive breaths, but they're easy. Shoulders are down. And we're just going to trust this by moving a little bit overhead and a little bit back. Seeing if we can have such heaviness in the body as we move the arms a bit overhead and back. And what I notice in my own arms is that there are definite jiggles or inequities between them. So every time I'm about to go by an area where they kind of had a prominent jiggle, I'll just see if I can relax something more in my shoulders. So the arms are moving with the concept that they don't feel like they have any muscles that are moving them. The belly is easy and soft. And we just check in to see that the breathing is happening in the ribs, but they're not tensing in or out. As the movements may or may not become a little bit broader, let's start to find a specific breath. So when the arms go overhead, let's inhale. And when they come up, we'll exhale. So find that slow, slow, slow movement. We're not looking for speed, because otherwise we can hide things from ourselves. So the inhale's overhead, and the exhale's up. You can reverse it if that makes more sense to you. Okay, one more, taking it over. And coming up. And then move the belt over to the side. Just have another pause, feeling inside the mind and the body. Bring the knees up into the chest and rock a couple times from side to side. And then with the hands supporting, bring yourself into a smile massage so that you're massaging around that kind of crescent from one top of the back of that hip bone through to the tail-ish, and then to the other top of the hip bone on the other side. And then finish up with your opposite side and come back into the center. Just cross at your ankles and hold here and be easy with just the legs where they can be in towards the chest. Okay, roll over to your side and come up. So here's where we may wish to set a mat or a blanket across the mat for when we do some sun salutations. And we'll do a few lunges with our sun salutations today. Sometimes we do step backs or jump backs, but this one's going to be with lunges. Have your blocks at the front. But we'll come into downward facing dog first. And the toes tucked. Really erecting the tent first from within by widening the side ribs but not being super tense. There's just a bit of natural doming in the armpits, and the elbows are a bit heavy and swingy first. Feel the sensation of the hands and the feet simultaneously. Inhale. Exhale, push the palms and the toes away. And be in down dog. Few breaths. Look at your hands and bring your feet towards your hands. Pause in a bent knee forward fold. And inhale, come up. Hands to heart. Inhale. Exhale, shift the weight a little bit forward so you're more in the fronts of the feet, engaging the fronts of the legs, and seeing if we can create a bit more space in the backs of the legs. And then come into your version of forward fold. Left leg up. Take it back. Parsvottanasana. The legs are both straight. Hips square off to the front. Bend the front knee and come into flag pose. So the back knee bends, the heel lifts. Feel yourself sitting here first, shifting your weight a little bit to the back leg, and then now a little bit to the front. And feel that between space of the front foot wedging and the back foot wedging. Bring the arms up. Inhale. Come down. Down dog. Left leg up. Bring it forward. Parsvottanasana. Both legs are straight. Flag pose, bend the front knee, bend the back knee. Come up. Balance the feet as the weight is distributed, and arms. Come down. Push your back foot forward. Come into your forward fold. Inhale, coming up. Hands to heart. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, right leg. Parsvottanasana. I'm going to use my blocks still for this, but you could decide if you're wanting to expand a little bit more with the arms parallel with the torso or coming forward. Take the back foot a little bit farther back and we'll come into a raised lunge, but it's still lowered. So we have the hands on the blocks if you'd like, and feel the muscles at the back of that back right thigh engage all the way at the bum and just lift the rib cage. And come up and a bit out and decide if you want to come back into down dog or come into raised plank. I'll come into raised plank, taking myself back, setting up smartly, lowering down. Your back bend of choice. Set yourself up, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg up. Bring it forward. Parsvattanasana, on the blocks or off. And then this raised lunge, this kind of lowered raised lunge. Taking the hips up high, pushing the back foot forward. Forward fold. Inhale, coming up. Hands into heart. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, left leg. Parsvattanasana. Coming down into a lunge where the back knee comes down. And just take yourself back so that you can relax the body a little bit, and then feel the muscles at the back, at the glute and the back at that, just at the hamstrings connecting into the sitting bone at the back. Feel those engage. Just see what else can be easy. Coming up, taking your hands and coming into either down dog or maybe into raised plank. Lower plank, back bend. Come through down dog. Inhale the left leg up behind. Bring it forward. Parsvattanasana. Coming down into our lowered lunge. Stabilizing what needs to be stable, and seeing what can be relaxed. So maybe there's a little gathering at the back body and a little bit of an opening into the front. And then come through and up, bringing the back foot forward, long back and deeper bend. Inhale, coming up. Hands into heart. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale the right leg up behind. Ardha And then let's just come down. And we're going to take this left leg over to the side. Now we have our blocks here, so we can take our elbows onto the blocks if you'd like, and come down into this kind of a lunge, or it's almost like a plank, like an elbow plank, like this. Or if we're not using the blocks, then we come down like this and come possibly onto the top of the back foot and feel a plumping up at the lumbar spine, and then maybe lift the back knee. So that's one of those options of depends on the day. And just see that the head stays relatively in line with the spine, so it's not dropped here if you can allow it to stay in line with the spine. A little bit open and wide through the side ribs. And then take that right knee down, possibly anchoring the foot. Now you can take it so that the foot lifts up, but you're wanting most of this movement to actually happen in the thigh. So I'll anchor my left foot down, maybe by putting my elbow on it, and then this knee is going to go out to the side and up, and I'm just going to let my whole hips kind of rock a little bit so that there's kind of a fluidity and I'm not forcing anything. So just back and forth, being easy. And then one more over to the side if that suits, and then just come back up. And because it's kind of a bit deep usually through this front on the right, so I support myself to come up with my hands and then step back either into raised plank or straight into down dog. If you're coming into raised plank, come into raised plank and then lower plank, and then come into your back bend. Inhale the right leg up behind, bring it forward, Ardha. And then let's come down again into that lunge, taking this right leg over to the side. You're on the top of the back foot. Plump up the muscles in the lumbar spine and maybe lift the knee. Maybe the left knee lifts. Come down and find your movement of this right knee going out to the side. And then one more time out to the side, come back in. Support yourself to come out of this, walking yourself out of that position. Tucking the back toes, lifting the hips, and then pushing that back foot forward. Long back, and then a deeper bend. From here, let's just walk ourselves back to downward facing dog. And then let's bring the right leg forward, and we're going to come into pigeon. So we'll take this right hip forward, or leg forward, and we've done this before where maybe we have this right hip on a block, and then that gives kind of a bit more of a three-dimensional look to this front knee, and you can stay like this with your torso up, because that's quite nice. Or you can go down fully. So I just wanted to show this as an example because we have the blocks right here and it's very sweet and quite restful, and there's not a strong stretch reflex that you're getting at the sides of the hips. It's just nice. So choose your pigeon and breathe. And then inhale, shift the weight a little bit onto the right hip so you can kind of then move your foot, just adjust yourself so that you can come off that. Take your hands down and come back into down dog. Drop the head for down dog so that it feels really nice and heavy, especially if you did that upward version of pigeon, which doesn't give a big head release. So here we can find a nice head release and push the mat apart with the hands and with the feet. Breathe in the back. Let more space happen in the back body. And then let's take this left leg forward, finding the block under the left hip if you're wanting to play this way. Quite nice. Just pause and be in your version of pigeon. And then shift your weight over onto the left, and you can adjust that foot so that you can move the block over to the side. Set yourself back up to come into downward facing dog. Toes tuck, widen through the side ribs. Exhale to lift. And then bend the knees and come down into child's pose. Keep the sides of the inner ankles or the inner sides of the feet touching for a few breaths. Hands can be forward or at your sides. Or maybe make a pillow or have a pillow for your head with a block, because we've got those around. And then relax the feet so that the whole body can relax. Inhale, coming up and using your hands, and see what it feels like to take the knees a little bit wide and kind of wiggle from side to side slowly so that you can feel a bit of movement through the tops of the hips, and the belly might come forward between the knee. Maybe you can come into a wide leg child's pose. If neither of these options work, of course, go onto your back and bring your knees into the chest that way. Inhale, coming up. And let's lay back down onto the ground. Just have your knees bent. Bring the right knee in towards the chest and have just a light and gentle hold, and imagine that the back of the pelvis widens just easily. So the knee is just where it can be in the chest, and we're not doing a resistance hold today. We're just playing with something a little different. Just see how easy or easily you can still breathe in the belly and the chest. Maybe as the legs been here a little longer, maybe you can feel kind of like just little micro millimeters or centimeters that the knee comes closer in towards the chest. And then move that down. Pause and notice. And easily bring the left knee up and just hold it to the chest. This nice heavy kind of draping like a wet towel weight of the arms. Freedom in your breathing. Sweet quiet quality in the mind. And then just release that leg. Bring the right one back up again, and this time let's just take our right hand on the inside line of the inner arch, and just see if this leg wants to come, or the knee wants to come towards the ground. So it's going towards my right armpit and towards the ground. And I have this left hand over on my hip just to see that there's a bit of weight there, so that I'm not having to work too hard at keeping my pelvis balanced in the ground. Sweet breathing, sweet mind. observing with kindness. Slowly remove. Take that foot back down, pause. And then the left leg comes up, the hand goes to that inner arch of the left foot, and find this position. And then remove that leg from that position, just pause. Let's just see what happens here if we do the repeat of what we did at the beginning. So the feet are as wide as the edge of the mat, and just start slowly. Keep the hips very heavy down, and gradually just move the knees from side to side. Nowhere that we need to be or nowhere that we need to go. Just sweet observation with kindness of where we're at in this moment. And then we'll start to move a little bit more slowly, where it's going to be like an inhale and an exhale over to one side. Let the hip come up. Inhale up and slowly exhale to the other side. So just finding the exhale to lower and the inhale to lift. Extending the breath. And even if it just is natural to you, start to add a bit of a pause at the top or the bottom of the breathing. Finish up on your last side. So for me, that's my left side. And then come back into the center. Just take your legs out and be in your Shavasana for as long as you wish or as short as you need. Namaste.